Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, late night edition. By the way, we're going to 5,000 subscribers September 7th, Texas LSU. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, especially if you really enjoy our content. Want to share it with your friends or other fellow sports fans? Feel free. So, guys, I'm here. It's, I believe, 1:59 a.m. I'm sort of a night owl, so I'm up late watching, binging on Stranger Things, and just plug it in the phone and see the text from my buddy Joe saying, with the tweet from Woj saying that the Clippers are in the mix for Kawhi and they're trying to facilitate something for Paul George. And just to show you how quickly news travels, by the time I pause Stranger Things, flip over to cable, ESPN has confirmed Kawhi Leonard is going to sign with the Clippers, and the Clippers have acquired Paul George via trade. Phone's still going off, as you can hear. Via trade with Oklahoma City for a boatload of picks, many of them unprotected. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was a promising rookie out of Kentucky last year, as well as Danilo Gallinari, who's been, a pretty potent scorer in the league, 6'11" guy, who those two players are going to Oklahoma City. So this is a bombshell and very, very surprising and an indictment on our news cycle. So first off, and my perspective is coming from that of a Spurs fan. Yes, I do follow the entire NBA, and I feel like I'm as plugged in as any other NBA fan will feel they are. But I am a Spurs supporter, so very, very familiar with Kawhi. Didn't have much content around the NBA Finals because it was a tough time for me personally, and watching him, this is kind of the backstory here, guys. But watching Kawhi do what he did with the Raptors was bittersweet. Bitter because it wasn't in the San Antonio Spurs uniform, and the way things ended, very messy. Granted, we were able to get value for him when it was made very clear that his intentions were to ultimately go to Los Angeles, which is what ended up happening, just not in the capacity that anybody predicted, but getting to that. But at the same token, validation for what myself and many other Spurs fans had said for so many years about him being one of the best players in the NBA, not just one of the best players in the NBA, but the best two-way player in the league, and a guy who is up there with the LeBrons and the KDs and the Paul Georges and the Anthony Davis and all these guys we talk about. Kawhi Leonard is right there. When James Harden and Russell Westbrook were going back and forth, back in 2017, and Russell Westbrook gets the triple doubles, I was the one pounding the table, just like many other Spurs fans, that Kawhi Leonard was the best player in basketball. So to see him get the validation this season, and to see people finally wake up, especially in the media, to not only give Kawhi his praise, but to start to really validate the type of talent that he truly, truly is, it's been bittersweet as a Spurs fan. But the other thing that people have gotten a dose of, because we were the ones that, for the first time, the Spurs have always been the model franchise and what good looks like, but we got kind of put in a position where it's like, hey, the Spurs, especially as the season went on, the narrative kind of changed to the Spurs were the ones that kind of screwed things up. We didn't, come at Kawhi correctly. And I'm not saying the Spurs, especially looking back at it, we definitely could have handled things better, whether it was Tony Parker or the team meeting or what have you. But Kawhi Leonard is a different type of dude, and him and Uncle Dennis move differently. And my point is, these reporters out here in the media and these people that were, getting their sources, whether it's Chris Broussard or Rick Bucher or even Jalen Rose or Chris Carter. I'm talking about all the people that were boldly out there, the people saying 95% sure, 99% sure he's going to be a Laker, 95% sure, or 99% sure he's going to be a Raptor. All those guys, Uncle Dennis and Kawhi Leonard, move differently, and those of us who are Spurs fans understand that. And Lakers fans, y'all got a taste of it. Raptors fans, be grateful for the championship the man brought you, and move on and Obviously you went all in, all chips in, and he delivered, but he's gone. So now you kind of go into a rebuild mode, especially with a couple older guys that are getting a little bit older, and it goes from being a championship team to now, how do we make the playoffs? If you're Oklahoma City, I mean, you're just totally blindsided by all this. I mean, Paul George commits to your team just last offseason, goes to this season, fantastic season, has the shoulder issues, still finishes, I believe, third in MVP voting. Obviously, the very disappointing first-round exit to Portland, where Damian Lillard closes the game in Paul George's face. But then overnight, because I thought I was locked in. I did not know Paul George was, even had any type of inclination of trying to leave Oklahoma City. But the opportunity presented himself. Kawhi Leonard turns into a recruiter all of a sudden because, again, Uncle Dennis and Kawhi Leonard move differently. They go out and poach Paul George from Oklahoma City. And now Westbrook has been left not once but twice. And it just goes to show, all these narratives, some of these narratives that come upon these players are true in terms of who guys want to play with or who's liked until they do play with a guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't really want to play with this guy, or he's too ball dominant, what have you. LeBron, and moving on to the Lakers. Now, this isn't a total loss for Lakers because they're still going to end up with Anthony Davis, but they got held hostage. They missed out on other guys who probably would have been on their plan B, and they should have realized something was up when Kawhi didn't sign right away early like Kyrie and Kevin Durant, some of the other guys, because the thing is, if he was coming and making that type of move, they needed to be strategic to fill out the rest of the roster with the little bit of money that they would have had, whether it was vet minimums or trying to split up the mid-level exception. So the Lakers end up with a great piece in Anthony Davis, but 2 offseasons in a row, Paul George doesn't want to play with LeBron, and then Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to play with LeBron. And not only that, but those two are now teamed up in that same city that LeBron's in. And now we have this grandiose rivalry that is, and granted, yes, this is a new rivalry because the Clippers were never a true rival to the Lakers. Let's be real. They've never had anything to threaten the Lakers in terms of I'm talking about holistically from a perspective of ticket sales, buzz, who has the attention in the city of Los Angeles. All that is legit on the table now. We got LeBron and AD on this side, and we got Kawhi, Paul George, and a really good Clippers organization on the other side, led by Steve Ballmer, Doc Rivers, and Jerry West. Jerry West delivers again, the man behind the curtain, making things happen. And I want to go on the media because they led us to believe, and it's one thing to report that you're hearing that a player is leading a certain way or whatever, but when people start going on and saying, I'm 99.9% sure Kawhi Leonard's going to be a LA Laker, it's like, come on. Is that what is it, at this point? It sounds to me like that's what you guys are wanting because yes, it will help with ratings and help push the overall buzz for the league. But look, say it for the third or fourth time in this video, Kawhi Leonard and Uncle Dennis move differently. They don't march to anybody else's beat. A lot of things they do. Look, to me, leaving Jordan Brand didn't make sense. They're going to the Clippers. They're leaving more money on the table. They left money on the table to leave the Spurs. They don't care. These people, it's like Thanos. Like, they're over here trying to restore a balance to the universe. I don't know what the hell their mission is, but it works for them. And I can't deny that. The championship, he got to go to where he wants to go. He's going to have a lot of opportunities, and to be fair to Kawhi and Uncle Dennis, they're going to have opportunities to make a boatload of money in LA. And all the benefits that people said of going to the Lakers in terms of the atmosphere and the market and all that, he's got all that. He's got Microsoft now with Steve Ballmer, and he's got an opportunity to do something that nobody else in NBA history has done in terms of leading not one, but 2 franchises that were not winners, not regarding the NBA, pantheon of great teams, to championships. Because if Kawhi goes and leads 3 different teams, now granted he didn't lead the Spurs, he was a part of the Spurs, but if he goes and leads the Raptors to a championship and then goes and leads the Los Angeles Clippers to a championship, I mean, that sets a new historical precedent of something that no one has ever done before. So maybe that's the path that they're trying to carve. And he's got the pieces. You look at the team that was around him in Toronto, and yes, they were very, very fortunate with all the injuries that occurred. But sometimes the NBA, it's a last man standing match. Going back to the old school wrestling days. Sometimes it's not about who's the best team or on paper who has the most talent. It's just who's healthy, who's the last person standing at the end of the day. So when you look at the team that he has and the pit bulls that they got with Montrezl Harrell and Pat Beverly and Lou Will, like, that's a really, really nice squad. I think he'll enjoy playing for Doc Rivers. I think the Clippers will definitely incorporate all the things that Toronto did from a load management perspective. He now has that second superstar to rely on to help with, kind of balance games off of each other. So they're relatively fresh going to the playoffs, because obviously Paul George had that issue as well in Oklahoma City. But as an NBA fan, first off, my last thought as a Spurs fan, overall, we did what was best for us. We still acquire assets out of it. Yes, we're still feeling some type of way about DeMar DeRozan and Jakob, but getting Keldon Johnson in the draft from the Raptors. I mean, right now with our young talent, I'm just excited to see our guys develop. If you're a New Orleans Pelicans fan, you're very excited for your future and the young assets you've gotten. There's a lot of teams tonight and going in tomorrow when people find out this news with hope, with restored hope in that if they develop their young talent and maybe get a star down the road, that they can win a championship. The Golden State run, obviously, unfortunately for them, I don't count them out all the way in terms of making the playoffs and all the ludicrous I'm hearing, but in terms of being that dynastic team, that's over with. If you're Houston, that's why you're seeing Houston being quiet and saying, hey, let's run it back. These are the same guys that kicked us out of the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. They're disbanded. Everybody's kind of making moves to level set. Let's run it back with our group and see if we can break through. So a lot of teams. There's some teams on the outside, whether the Lakers or Oklahoma City, that are shaking your head, scratching your head. And I just want to see, what teams you guys are. Please chime in. Breaking news. Yet again, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George heading to the Los Angeles Clippers. Blockbuster trade. Blockbuster deal. Kawhi watch is over. And all of us as NBA fans can now finally get our summer started in terms of the official free agency signings and really moving on to the next steps. But please chime in with your comments. Love to discuss with you guys as always on social media. I try to respond to as many comments as possible. But enjoy my time here, guys. Appreciate it.